Welcome to the Afterthoughts podcast. You may be wondering, if you're watching, why are you wearing your Uganda Cranes soccer jersey?
The Cranes, let's go.
Well, for one, because I'm a huge fan. And two, because my brother from Uganda is here. Haril is in the house today with us. Welcome to the Afterthoughts podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so humbled. I'm so pumped to be here with you guys today. It's such an honor. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having me on this wonderful conversation. Afterthought?
Afterthoughts. That's right.
It's our thoughts after stuff. So after you were in the house for the weekend sharing with our church about Musana, then you sit down in the podcast room. Then we get to give you more than like a minute on stage to share about what you do, and you can talk to us for as long as you want. And people will listen for as long as we talk.
We can go for 5 hours if we want.
It was really, really hard to keep everything under 1 minute.
Hey,
for a typical Ugandan, that was a bit hard.
You did great.
Listen,
but thank you so much.
That was one of the most succinct dismissals that we've ever had.
Yeah.
You gave so much information in such a short amount of time. And
you explained an entire ministry, which we'll have you do. But first, we have to talk through some props. So I have my Uganda jersey on today. Go
It
Cranes.
looks good on you.
Go Cranes. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I can't believe you've had that jersey for
13 years.
13
Since 2012,
years.
Yeah. Brought it home in 2012, and I've kept it.
Ugandans should be so proud of you.
Well, we spent 2 months there.
Yeah.
And it was
so
two of the
fun.
best months of my life.
Unbelievable.
So your wife is from Colorado, as we are. So we have, our friend Crystal made a Colorado sports hat that has all of our teams
Crystal.
represented
It's a
on
great
it.
hat.
Wow.
So this is for Andrea.
Oh,
your wife.
that's amazing.
Even
the Rockies.
Even the Rockies. I love that the Rockies are just demoted to the bill, which is
amazing.
And
That is
then
fitting.
Doug is normally on the podcast, but he's not here today, but because we would rather talk to you, but I found this mug this morning when I was looking for something, and it has a picture of Doug, and then it says on this side, Pastor Doug, not Pastor Sean. Let's go.
Should say Pastor Mug.
Pastor Mug.
Pastor Mug.
Doug is here in mug, and Haril.
We love you, Doug. No worries. We love you.
That's right. All right, let's start with a real quick, again, synopsis of Musana. Maybe somebody that's listening that wasn't around Red Rocks and doesn't know anything about what you guys do in Uganda. Give us the quick rundown of Musana, and then we'll hash it out through a conversation of all the amazing work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ethan. First of all, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I want to send...
Don't thank us yet. Wait till the end to see if you're still thankful that you were on the podcast.
You may be really angry that you were on this.
I should not have done that.
Thank you.
I am ungrateful to be on this podcast.
Thank you, Red Rocks Church, for having me on this podcast, not Ethan. I'm so glad to be here so that I can have a voice. And to you all, my name is Haril Kazindra. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Musana, a community development organization. We are based in Uganda, and my wife, Andrea Kazindra, also sends her greetings. Yesterday, I was talking to her, and she was like, I wish I was there with you. So she's missing me. She's missing to be here. She was here last year, and when I was telling her all the people I was connecting with, she was a bit jealousy. But she's with our kids. We have 4 kids with us in the US. Our daughter, Damali, is at college at Baylor. And she's doing really well. She's a junior. We have Daisy, who is 10 years old, and she's back home with her mom, and Josiah, who is 7 years old, and Ezra, who is almost 2. Trouble Ezra.
Ezra's the troublemaker, the 2-year-old.
Very fun guy.
Yeah,
but they're all fun kids, and I miss them right now, but I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thanks for taking some time to be here. I know that coming all the way from Uganda, you're back and forth between the States and here. You were just in New York at some meetings with all the UN gatherings and things like that. So it's humbling for us that you would spend a little time here in Austin with us. Give us the thesis of Musana. What is it that you guys do in that quick 1-minute snapshot? And then we'll get to hear the whole backstory.
So at Musana, what we do we are building self-sustaining communities in the most underserved areas in Uganda. So if you've ever been to Africa and you've ever had what they call a village, we go to villages where there is lack of services, like lack of access to education, lack of access to healthcare, lack of access to any opportunity for jobs. I mean, this is where people are living in extreme levels of poverty. And we go into these communities and build an holistic approach model community where we build schools, hospitals, businesses like restaurants, hotels, where we build vocational training centers that empower marginalized women and young men to have vocational skills so that they can have an opportunity to earn a living so that they can provide for themselves. We believe by doing this, we are not only trying to take these services to the community, but also transforming the whole community, restoring hope and dignity within these communities so that they can thrive and be self-reliant. And I feel that's what God has called us to do in all these communities. And if I'm to give you a little bit more, right now we started in 2008. It has been 17 years now. And we have so far built 3 communities that we have established in Uganda. We have put in schools, primary to high school. So primary is like elementary school here in the US. And then high school, which we call sometimes secondary school. And this is where kids then graduate to go to tertiary. That could be college or any other vocational training. And we also put in a women's training school. This is mostly focused on building esteem, teaching business, teaching vocational skills to the young women in the community. You'll find women of different background. You find teenage mothers. Again, these are children with children that sometimes maybe dropped out of school or had no opportunity. They ended up getting pregnant and they had a kid. And most of the time, the men ran away from them. So they are left single with their child and they are still young. So we kind of bring them in to restore their life, to tell them that all is not lost. There is still an opportunity for you. And we train them, build their esteem, their confidence, and their vocational skill, and they go out and provide for themselves. We build hospitals, around the community. These are comprehensive hospitals whereby people can get healing with compassion within their own communities. And we have seen a lot of, restoration through our hospitals. Families getting united through that. But most especially creating jobs. So each community we go into, we create more than 250 jobs full-time of people that are working there. So this is something that is also amazing. That's why right now we have over 750 full-time employees.
Say that number again. 700 and...
So we are close to 750 full-time employees. To be exact,
so awesome.
Is 745 employees that are working for the organization.
Bro, that's amazing. I love the 2 words you use, hope and dignity.
Yeah.
That's providing those 2 words, hope and dignity, for so many people. I can't wrap my mind around 750.
Yeah. When you have to do employee reviews, that's a lot of meetings. That probably takes up most of the year.
Dude. Wow.
Well, I want to hear about how this all started and, the amount of people that you're responsible for in terms of employees and kids and the Musana home and all those things. So, but before we get to all that, we have a few quick things we have to do, because when you're a guest on the Afterthoughts podcast, people got to get to know you a little bit. And I will say this, if you want to see the story, there's a film out called Finding Musana.
Yes.
Available on...
it's available on Amazon Prime. And right now it was aired on also TBN. And we are going to look out for more other platforms where we're going to have this movie on.
It's awesome.
We have a personal question for you because we made a documentary called the AC Project. Yeah. Now, what does it feel like?
It took place in Uganda.
Of course. What does it feel like to have a documentary that people actually want to see?
Yeah, it's made it somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, what does it feel like?
We've been chasing that feeling.
We've always wondered. Mm-hmm. We made the documentary, but nobody wanted to pick it up. So,
I mean, I think I would. One of the things that I think I would come to is why we did the documentary.
Yeah,
we did the documentary to see what God has done through Musana in Uganda, to bring it to the world, and maybe it could relate to so many people in a way today as Christians, as people who care about the world and others. How do we approach uplifting people out of poverty?
Yeah.
Because Musana's story is so powerful in a way that it's a miracle. Nothing was planned, but everything came organically with God's wisdom and guidance. And it's so beautiful to see through that documentary, again, to so many people, that nothing is really impossible when God is in it. I feel that documentary speaks so much to that. And, it speaks so much that, poor communities are capable to take control, to be change makers, and they need us. They need you to go and walk alongside them. Yeah. And that speaks so much in a way we can approach uplifting people out of poverty differently, because we feel what we have done is very unique and different, and we want to share that with the world. And that's why we did this documentary. Yeah. So it feels amazing. It feels amazing that we are capable, and I want to thank the people that supported us to do this documentary. Because we had one person who said, your story is so awesome. I want to do a documentary for you guys. And it wasn't like we even thought about it.
Yeah, right.
Just came out, I want to do a documentary for you guys because I feel your story is powerful.
Yeah.
And we're like, we'll be so happy to share that with the world.
So great.
Maybe that's the difference. They had people that said, we want you to tell your story, where we decided we're going to tell our story, but nobody asked for it.
No, nobody's asked for it ever.
When I watched it, and getting to screen it at our church for people, I think what I took away, it was like it reawakened in me that with God, all things are possible. Like when we were in college, young in our faith, it was like, let's go change the world. Let's go travel. Let's go be a part of whatever God's doing anywhere. And who cares? Like, life is short. Let's go. And then it just gets easy to get consumed with daily life, and you have responsibilities, and it's even just good things. But it's sometimes, I think, like dampens in you that kingdom dreamer spirit of like, let's just go, and whatever God calls us to, we'll just take a step and be bold in our faith. And so to anyone who maybe is in a place in their life that's like, man, I have some dreams, but I need some fuel on that fire, or I used to dream and I used to think God could use my life for something great, and I've kind of given up on that. I just feel like this film really will stir in people, because not everyone's going to go to Uganda and start an organization, but everyone has their Musana. Everyone has their thing that God has called them to, that will change the world in some scope. And so go watch it, Amazon Prime, and it'll be other places soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love exactly what you said. My wife, Andrea, always says that when someone comes to Uganda and say, I want to change the world, he will be the first person to escort them to the airport to tell them, go back home. But I love what you said, because in so many ways, we would think that we have to go to a destined place like, Uganda or Africa to be able to change the world. But I love how you've put it, that we can change the world just around where we are.
That's right.
And that's like living with purpose. Like, most of the times we are consumed with, our work and everything. And sometimes we are not finding purpose. And I think some of the ways to find purpose is to know, why am I doing this? How can I be present for other people? Right. How can I show up? Or how can I have a purposeful, way of living that I'm trying to see that I'm actually changing the world around me. And there are so many people around us that even so many people that just want to say, you're doing great. Like a word of affirmation or encouragement. Is you're changing someone's life.
Yeah, there's a poverty everywhere you are. In America, in a lot of places, it may not be the material poverty that you picture in some of the places that you guys are working, but there's people in workplaces with spiritual poverty, with relational poverty, with emotional poverty. And the story of Musana to me is someone stepping into their call and saying yes. And it inspires other people to step into whatever, like you said, their sphere of influence is, whatever the thing is that they've been equipped or called into, to bring the same hope and the same dignity to other human beings. And it's not about comparison, because a lot of people might hear your story and be like, well, they have hundreds of thousands of people in their hospitals and hundreds of employees and all these kids and stuff. But I think it just should be an inspiration to, it may be 3 people in your life that you impact in this mighty way. But that's you changing your world and changing the world for a couple other people. So thank you for telling the story as well through a film, because I know that takes a lot of work. We did it on a very low scale, and it was a lot of work. So
emphasis on low scale.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get too deep into the whole backstory, we have a segment here on the Afterthoughts podcast called Questions with Kayla. And so Kayla is going to ask a question or two to Haril, just to get to know you, just to hear a little bit more about you. So Kayla, can you ask a question to Haril?
What's something you wish Americans could learn from the Uganda culture?
Was that Kayla or Kaylai?
You're throwing me off here. So is it ChatGPT, Kayla, AI?
Right. Fair question.
It's becoming a confusing
Very fair question.
What's something we could learn from Ugandan culture? Kayla wants to know.
Well, let me see if I can remember. I've become too much of an American. But yeah, I mean, there are so many things that I feel, we can learn from each other. But specifically, right now, having come here many times and experienced life here, there are so many things that I see we can learn from each other. Some of the things can be looked at like, oh, that's an old-fashioned way of living. We are living in, the modern way of life. Let's look at time as in itself. The way in Uganda people look at time, they look at time in a way of building relationships with each other. They value the time they spend with each other than the time of scheduling one thing to the other. And I feel like in the US culture, everything is about time. Like you have to schedule time for everything. And even in ad events, like if you have anyone, having a need at any point, like, oh, you have to schedule this, with me and, get on my schedule. In Uganda, you can just walk on the street and someone says, oh, I really want to talk with you. And you'll find most of the time people give their time, 5, 10, 20 minutes with this person. They're not caring that they're going to be late for their next meeting. And when they are late to their next meeting or to the other person they're going to meet, and they explain why they were late and what held them back, the other person is receiving that information well.
Yeah, with grace.
With grace and not feeling like, oh, you didn't respect me to show up on time and things like that. And I find that has become more of a corporate way of living where people are so strict with time, but not a more of a relationship way with people. And that is something I find that it has its beauty in it, that people know there are so many things can hold other people back because of a communal engagement. And with that leads to how we are losing out on communal relationship because of how we chase time, most especially here in America. And in Africa, people are still very communal. They live in community each and every other time because they value those relationships than the time itself.
Yeah, right.
Well, people would argue that leaves Africa behind in so many things, in like developing and, having these rhythms of consistency and so on. But there is also value relationship. But we also see that with Christ. He spent a lot of time with people.
Right.
People would stop him, would, and talk to him when he's heading to a different destination. Yeah. So we see a lot of some of those examples of communal relationship. People depend on each other there.
Yeah.
Talk about if someone wants to do either wedding or they have lost their loved one in their family and it's a burial. This is not something people struggle on their own. Here in America, one of the things that shocks me, like if someone has lost someone or is going through some turbulence in life, most of the time people want to give those people space. Even when they're like taking maybe food or something to contribute, someone leaves food at the door. They don't knock to see that they can have a conversation sometimes with this person. But there, people come and live with you and mourn with you. They will sleep on your veranda. They will sleep on the grass outside at night and put up firewood to put fire for warmth. And they sleep in your home for days. Wow. They have things to do. It's not that they don't. Right. People most of the time think they don't have things to do. Yeah. But they value you. And they want to be present with you and feel what you feel. They're going to sleep outside on the veranda. They don't care whether you have enough in your home. They will bring food. They will bring everything, cook and eat with you in your place. If you have a wedding or something, people will come together. There, a wedding is a communal wedding. It's community. Everyone will contribute money.
Yeah.
I always tell Andrea and the family that I got so lucky to marry an American girl. I didn't have to pay dowry.
What would the going rate be? What would the dowry
be? A lot. But Gino was very generous. Gino is Andrea's dad. Gino, he's like, Haril, I trust you with my daughter. And then they had to pay for the wedding. I was like, this is beautiful.
This is a culture thing that we
is a win-win.
So we trade some ideas.
So we can bring that to Uganda, but I don't know if it will work.
It's good. In a culture like yours, like the priority of time is people. Whereas in America, we literally say time is money. So it's all about productivity. It's all about what I can do to get enough. And people are oftentimes viewed as an obstacle to what we really are trying to get to. Yeah. I remember there was a day when we were in Uganda. We had this little house that 4 of us guys were living in. And we were working with the ministry. And they told us, hey, on Friday, don't come in, take the day. You guys have been running around to different places. Just take a day of rest. So in our minds, that's a day where we're going to watch movies, not talk to anybody, just be alone. Yeah. And about midway through the morning, we hear a knock on our door and everybody is there. The whole crew from the ministry, all these, our Ugandan friends are at our house. And we're like, did we miss something? We thought today was an off day. And they're like,
this was not on the calendar.
No, we're here to hang out. And they brought food. And all of a sudden we had a party all day long. We were playing cards. We're just eating food and spending time together. But it was a funny realization of an off day is a chance to build community here, where for us, it's this is my chance to get away from people. And that's very much how a cold culture in America, where we put our garage doors down before we even get out of our cars so we don't have to see our neighbors and risk having to talk to them. Where in Uganda, it's so much more, everybody's in the conversation all the time together. Our neighbors would be sitting out and they'd just be like, sit down, eat with us when we came home.
And then we ask questions. Why are we depressed? Why are we so stressed out? Because it's all about productivity. It's all about, this, and there is very less time for relationship.
We're so isolated.
And it causes that isolation. It causes to look at spending time with each other as something that has to be intentional, as something that is so hard. I mean, I'm realizing in the US, people no longer even find someone to date unless they go online. Because there is so much spaces to get to know people. And you have to know yourself from online, and that's, how you start knowing each other. So there's space for a communalization, hanging out on half days with people, knocking on someone's door without feeling Am I offending? Am I intruding?
Yeah.
And of course, there are so many reasons for that. But yeah, I think that's a huge difference in the Western world compared to the
So interesting. What's interesting is we now have a loneliness epidemic. So loneliness is a big problem, especially for men from ages like teenagers, but also in the 20s and 30s. We're seeing like actual warnings. We're reaching dangerous levels of loneliness. I talk to people every week in the lobby who tell me I'm lonely. And the conversation's always like, how did we get here? And it's like, no, I think we know how we got here. It's because we prioritize time as money and people as hopefully a helpful way to get to the next place and to get to the next level for decades. And now all of a sudden we're bearing the fruit of that system. And by the way, I'm talking to myself. I'm the worst at this, right? And it's like, I think there is, as you're saying all that, there's such a healthy call out to people who are wired the way that I'm wired to go, hey, it's all about people. It's only ever been about people. And so I completely agree. And thank you for sharing.
Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your background up until you met Andrea and the whole Musana story started. Let's get a little Haril backstory before the Musana backstory.
I grew up in a beautiful town in the outside of this town called Jinja. Jinja is a very beautiful town in Uganda because it's if anyone knows, Uganda is a very beautiful country. We have the source of the Nile that flows from Uganda all the way to Egypt. And I grew up just really close to the source of the Nile. And I grew up in a polygamous family. So my dad was a Muslim and married 3 wives and had I have 18 siblings that we grew up together. But all our family was an extended family. Besides just, my parents' kids also would have cousins and neighbors' kids and friends' kids that would really come and live with us. So it was a very, very communal way of living and growing up. And I remember because we really had a small house and would just most of the time when we are men in the house, we probably had a couple of beds and we had only 2 bedrooms in the house. So we'd put our mattresses and mats on the floor in the living room and would, just sleep in a line together. So if you missed bathing before going to bed, I know people here are scared of mice, but mice would come and would eat, the flesh on your feet. So you don't know that? They will just blow on you really slowly and they eat off the cows and you'll never hear them eating you unless they really poke you really hard. And you wake up. Wow. So then you can wake up in the morning walking weird, like because your feet is all eaten up. Jeez. But anyway, those are some of the fun stories.
So
What?
You talk about that so casually. Just sometimes
it's casual because so many kids who have grown up in poor homes in Africa or in Uganda, they experience these experiences. They are not new to us. They are normal. We talk about these conversations right now when we're adults and laugh about them in Uganda. So, and that's why I laugh about it because these are conversations we remember. Can you remember when we didn't have shoes and go to school? Can you remember when this happened? So anyway, but really I grew up farming. We had a farm at our house. I grew coffee that still exists and my mom still picks on that coffee to earn some little income. I grew up going to the local schools around the community. You'd sit in a classroom with just a bench, and then if it's time for writing, you kneel down on the floor and you use the bench as your desk to write. Really crowded government schools. Until one point I got an opportunity to go to a boarding school. And I had someone who felt compassion for our family and helped me and a few of my cousins to go to a boarding school. And when I finished my P7, life started really changing. Going to school became very challenging. And this is when I really started working more harder to the farm and so on, to see that I get revenue. And then I could go to my uncles and relatives, ask for money. And that's how I was able to go up to senior 4. So senior 4 is really the first 4 years of high school. And when I finished that, I think everyone had given up. It's like, okay, you've gotten somewhere with your school life. There's really nothing more. But along those lines, I was still really working and getting some money as I get support from other people, support myself as well. Now I started really educating myself fully to finish high school the other 2 years. When I finished in 2006, it was a very challenging time. I worked in restaurants and also did farming, and then I started going to Nairobi, Kenya. A friend of mine got me a loan, simple loan of money. It was probably like $150, but that was a lot there for me to start, being an entrepreneur. And a business guy. So I started really going to Nairobi, Kenya, and started to provide for my siblings, for my family, to really see how we can help each other, get out of poverty, and everyone, has a stable life.
Why Nairobi?
So Nairobi is very close to the coast.
Yeah.
So if things are shipped from Europe, from all over the world to get to Uganda, they have to go through Nairobi, through Kenya. So going to Kenya, you could buy things at a very cheaper cost compared to Uganda. So I started small, then I became a wholesaler. I started small, bringing products to Uganda, and that was mostly shoe businesses and clothes and stuff. And, I realized that there was a gap. One of the things that actually a backstory to that, I grew up most of the time, like when I don't have shoes to go to school. So every time I would be able to get a shoe, I would take care of that shoe, like Ethan used to take care of his shoes. I would really take care of that shoe and clean it up and make sure it's neat and walk very carefully. I don't want it to get old. Yes. So I realized that so many kids were going to school without shoes, and shoes were expensive. So a friend of mine told me there are very cheap used shoes that you can buy from Kenya, and we could really provide shoes, affordable shoes for kids. So I started going, and this business grew because I was bringing affordable shoes for kids going to school, and then brought more adult shoes and then other stuff. So I started really supplying stores around Ginger and beyond Ginger shoes to sell to kids.
Very cool.
So that's the backstory. Amidst doing that, that's when I moved to Uganda to visit some friends and family members. Uganda now is the next town to Ginger.
Yep.
And this is when I actually ran into Andrea. She was just staying across the street. She had also just come in town, just that very that very month. So
she was there just volunteering. She had gone over to serve with an orphanage.
Yeah, so her story is really good when she tells her story, and I think next time you'll have her here.
Maybe he can have an AI version of it. Tell her story.
That would be so funny. But
AI Andrea.
Yeah, but the thing is, Andrea also is a very unique story because she had this passion to study about how to lift people out of poverty through microfinance. And this is when she searched what is the best place that I can go and learn more about microfinance and lifting people out of poverty. And Uganda came up to her. So that's how she travels with one of the organizations in Uganda, and she gets to do internship with a microfinance office in Uganda, which was, typical village, which was a great opportunity. But while she's there, we get to meet, and she gets also to volunteer at this orphanage. So during her free time from internship work, microfinance, she would go volunteer to this orphanage. So, and that's how we got to meet each other. And then she introduced me actually to this orphanage. So when you look at my story, I didn't know anything about orphanages. I didn't know anything about development work or, charity work. it was really survival for the fittest, like, really trying to survive amidst the chaos, amidst the poverty. I never, we didn't hope to, I was the very first person in our family to even go to college. So, that was like, a very intriguing, interesting, phase in my life to see that there is an orphanage and there is, Europeans, Americans, and, different people that give aid. This is the first time I'm like really learning about aid in the community. But it wasn't, of course, the best way to learn about it. But because it wasn't the best way, that's why Musana is what it is today. Yeah.
So you two encountered this orphanage and it was a mess. Talk about kind of discovering that and then how you made the decision that we're going to do something about this.
Yeah, so Andrea came with her sister, Leah, and a friend called Sally. So they came in, and I also had some other guys that we usually met them. So they took us all to see. So Leah and Sally were volunteering at this orphanage as well. So our first conversation, say, hey, what are you doing? We're seeing these white Americans, young girls in our community. So like, what are you doing here? So as they talk about it, oh, we're doing so. Like Sally, I think, was in a hospital. Leah was working in a school, and Andrea doing microfinance, and then they together go volunteer. So we're like, oh, we want to go see this orphanage that you guys are talking about. So reaching there, first of all, for me, what I saw, like, where all of us see things in different lenses.
Yeah.
And in the lens of, to say, Andrea, was really compassion for these kids. Like, how can, kids have suffering in Africa? Why is no one helping? I want to help. And for me, it was like, why are these kids here? Why are they not at their homes? And what I mean with that, growing up in a communal family, in an extended family, we grow up knowing that in Africa, you cannot fail to have a home. Even when your parents have died, the neighbors will take you on as their own child. Right. There is no formal adoption. There is no, all the things you see in the West. Like, you have
someone's just going to take you in.
Someone is going to take you in. Someone is going to care for you. They may have resources or not, but they will take you in. And that's the culture. So I was wondering, how could it be that so many kids are in this place and it is claimed that they have nobody? And, it was a very first time I'm seeing this in my life. And seeing the where they were sleeping. I mean, I grew up poor. We grew up sleeping, on the floor with mattress. But this was extreme. This was like dirty floors, leaking roofs, like messy, they were sleeping really like they are on the streets or something like that. So it wasn't a good environment for these kids. So all of that was very confusing. Like for me, I was like really opening up my mind on learning about this situation, as well as I was seeing the compassion on the other side from Andrea, from Leah, from Sally about, these conditions in this place. So again, conversation started sparking. What do we do? All these kids approaching. So Andrea decided to stay back. There was another guy who was there before. He was also doing a medical internship. He's now actually a doctor in Colorado. But he left Andrea some money to feed the kids, because the kids were sleeping hungry. They were not having food. So this guy didn't trust the leaders of this orphanage, which was very obvious, that there was a lot of corruption and, in this place, intentionality of keeping kids in the worst conditions ever. So Andrea was to be buying food for these kids. Like, oh, we'll help. We'll go with you to the market to buy food as we learn. But these kids can't be living like this. So conversation started. Like, how do we, and that's how she made the decision. I want to stay. I want to stay back, and fight so that we can rescue these kids. And I think if she had not made that decision, I don't know if Musana would have existed. Musana is a miracle in its way. But I think that decision was so powerful. To me, to the kids, and to everyone watching all your sister and your friends board the plane to go back home, and you're choosing to stay with strangers. I mean, we were strangers. I mean, we had not known each other for a long time, and yet that level of faith in her to make that decision to stay behind, even though today she will not tell anyone to do that. I think it was very powerful to me, and I was like, I want to walk this journey. I don't want to walk away from these kids. I'm going to take a pause on each and everything I'm doing. And, we're going to fight for these kids.
So tell us about that. You decided to fight for the kids. What did that process look like?
It was a very complex process. With no knowledge from both of us, about how to navigate this situation. Actually, I look back and say, everyone should know that God can use you in the most amazing ways you'll never even imagine about. Because I feel God used us in the ways we have never thought even about, and open doors that I look back, how did those doors open for us? And these are some of the possibilities that God can do. I mean, there are things you feel this is a supernatural, thing happening. I don't think I had it in me to do that. And I feel like for Andrea staying and saying, we're going to take care of these kids, and, walking alongside, going to each and every office, arguing for the freedom, for the rights of these kids. They deserve better. It was a bold move. Andrea received a lot of threats. We all received threats. They called us thugs, they called us names, and they told Andrea, go home. If you don't go home, something is going to happen to you. I mean, you can imagine a woman who is not even 21 years old, because when we started Musana, we had just turned 21 years old.
Wow.
To go through all those threats and challenges, and yet you choose to stay back and walk through those threats, those fears, every day. I think, again, having a container is something very helpful. I think together we stood so strong to say, we're going to move forward and we're going to really rescue these kids and bring them to a safe home. And amazingly, God used this man who is the representative of the president in this community. We call them RDC, Residential District Commissioner. He used this man to say, okay, you guys are saying you're going to take care of the kids. There were 160 kids in this place. And we're like, okay. Because the other people were also arguing. They were like, no, these people are wrong. They were saying stuff. And they said, no, this place should have been closed a long time ago.
Wow.
For now, we're going to give you guys 80 children for you to take on. So
you're 21?
21 years
and now
old.
You've got 80 kids.
80. Not 8, 80.
80.
That's wild.
Everything seemed like a miracle, and we have these 80 kids, and then we're starting to look for a home where to put these kids. And every time I look at Andrea, and I'm like, I hope we make it through. I mean, that doubt, we were becoming legal guardians. We're becoming responsible for these kids. We're becoming their parents at this moment. And and to me, that was like, at that time, I didn't think about it. Right now, I already think about it. Like, where did we get the courage, to do that?
Yeah.
But I think looking at the situation of, these children, the way they were living, we just got courage.
Yeah.
We just got courage, and faith kicked in, and we rescued these kids, brought them at home. We rented this old building. Someone was building like a a school and ran out of money or something like that. And like a school in Africa is not the same here. So we went and like, finishing up this building and like painting and running around, making beds and like all the things for the kids and bringing them in. Andrea's mom is calling everybody she knows back here at home. And,
she was the fundraiser.
Yeah.
We gotta get beds. We gotta get
when
food.
Sally and Leah came back, like, they all jumped in to see like, they make the voice being heard here. To see that they can send over money to that. I mean, in all that, I didn't understand this whole idea. I only just thought you should have some really rich family, like to send money back here. But again, they worked really hard to see that they have their friends and family to send over support. And we survived on that support for quite a while. Every day waiting like for support to come in. It was something very uncomforting for me. In so many ways that we have to wait for Ethan or for Ryan or for somebody in the US to send us help, and it was very uncomforting. But that's what we had to depend on. At that time.
So that 17 years ago, you make that decision. Today, you shared with us. You've built 8 schools. You've got 750 employees. You've got hospitals serving hundreds of thousands of people. How did the model develop? How did you grow that idea to go, okay, beyond, taking care of 80 children, you could just do that for the rest of your life. And that's plenty of work. How did you guys decide we want to do so much more than that?
So again, that's a very good question. And I stopped where I stopped intentionally thinking you're going to ask me that question. But amidst that weight and that uncertainty of like, are we going to have food tomorrow for these kids?
Right.
My entrepreneurship mind is kicking in. And as well as Andrea's basic entrepreneurship mind is like really thinking what we need to do. But again, shockingly, one of the things that we really found out that when we dug deeper in the lives of these children, we found out that more than 85% of these kids actually had a parent or parents. That we were all told that these kids are orphaned and they have no one. Again, that really drove us into another journey of like asking ourselves, why did the parents of these kids lie that they are dead to have their kids in this messed up situation? Like, which was like trafficking kids. Literally, we rescued kids out of being trafficked and used to attract donor funding. And when we went to these families, we were asking the question, why? Why did you send your kid? I can't imagine a parent trying to give up, a mother trying to give up their child. And, people in tears and crying and thinking that once they tell the truth, we are going to give their kids back to them. And that was a big fear for each and every person we met. So it was very hard for them to say, that child is actually mine biologically. They tried to dodge around the question. I'm a sister to the mother. Until like you could tell that this is a lie. And so many women, but I want to bring up one of these women that said, Harel, I know you're going to give me back my kid. That's how she started. And she's like, but that's my child. But I want to tell you why I did it. And she's like, look around my home. I have nothing. I gave my child to that place because I was promised that my child is going to get education, is going to get a sponsor who is going to take care of him. And I have to lie that my child is an orphan because sponsors want orphan kids. And that's why I did it.
Wow. So oftentimes it was the parent trying to do the best thing in their mind for their kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every parent wants best for their children.
Which comes at a painful cost.
Yeah.
Because you would assume those are selfish people who let their kids go to this place, but instead it's actually, it has to be so painful to watch your kid leave your home and go live somewhere else, but you're making that heartbreaking decision because you want them to get a chance to go to school and maybe have a better life than they're living. Wow.
And in some families where there were orphan kids, you find that there was an orphan kid, but they gave in their own kid and left the orphan kid back. And, because these parents want best for their child, so they didn't send the orphan child to get the opportunity. So you find scenarios of that nature that truly orphaned kids sometimes don't get the opportunity to get the support they need.
Wow.
And that's so really complicated. It's a very complicated issue in that regards. And, I want to drive to the answer why Musana it is what it is today. When we went back and started reflecting on all these conversations with parents that are very disturbing and very complex in nature, we're like, what can we do? And looking at all these sad puppy faces of these kids, looking, okay, now what's next that you know the truth? Mm-hmm. When you have sinned and your sin is alive, that feeling that you get, and you're like, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. And we started saying we have to do this differently. This is not about the children. This is about the community. Yeah. The community is being affected with something very dangerous, with the dependency on aid that is now causing to not even serve the purpose that it should be serving. Right. We are not restoring the hope of those that are underserved in the community, but we are reinventing the wheel that we are creating this over-dependency on aid, and these communities are getting destroyed. Families are getting disconnected.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's some people who are trying to leverage that in order to make a profit.
So many
off of it.
Many.
Right.
And we're like, we need to restore. We restore the dignity. We need to restore our communities.
Yeah, that's right.
To come to realization that, there are people with compassion. I saw Andrea's compassion and I saw the confusion because she truly believed, I'm the mother to these children and there is no other.
Yeah.
Because she believed they are all true orphans. You can imagine.
Right.
And there are so many people, I believe, that they believe the child I sponsor in Africa is a true orphan. But sometimes parents are there. We have had stories of adoption and parents come up. I didn't know my child was going to be taken forever. I want my child back.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories of that nature. Yeah. But the thing is, we don't lose hope amidst that, because the truth is there are so many poor families that need us to step in.
Yeah.
Right.
But we have to do it in a way that is empowering, the way that is respectful, the way that is not from our idea, but how do we help them with their own idea?
Yeah.
Wow. What do they really need than what do we need? And that's a very important thing that we came with to Musana. We want to transform the communities by bringing them on the table.
Yeah.
To take lead in solving their own problems. To be the change within their own community.
Yeah.
They understand their problems better than we do in the West.
Yeah.
And how do we step into that through relationship and humility, not imposing our idea,
right,
but listening to them.
Good.
Right.
Good.
And I think we change the narrative even in a Christian, space. How do we help other people in our community? Sometimes what we may think they need is not what they actually need.
Right.
And that's the whole basis of Musana.
Yeah.
We want to elevate people so that they stand in their community and they say, we have been part of the solution within our community.
I remember, I love studying missions and how people go about, the Great Commission and serving people and trying to lift people out of poverty and things like that. It was so humbling. We traveled in 2012 and left with that, like, we're going to go change the world mentality, right? Yeah. Thinking that we're going to go to all these places, and because we show up, suddenly things are going to get fixed. And quickly got humbled in that, of realizing we're actually going to go spend a year learning from people who are changing the world.
Right.
How do you actually do that? And when we were in Uganda, we had a chance to go up and see Musana at that point, a couple years old. And Andrea and her friends were there, and we all went out to dinner that night just to hear the story. And I remember hearing her talk about it, and it was so humbling to me, realizing if you really want to affect change somewhere, if you want to change the world, quote unquote, it's not coming in and imposing your idea and thinking you have the solution, but it's learning how do we help within this culture and in this community and do something that's a lot bigger than solving one problem with one Band-Aid, but developing a community and helping it become self-sustaining to the point that, like, from a financial perspective, when you get outside donations, that's kind of like CapEx for you guys, where it's like, we'll use that funds to pay for the construction of the school.
Right.
But you have the operating expenses that are paid for locally by the people in their jobs and the businesses that are generating revenue to keep funding their own things versus just dumping a bunch of money from America in and just relying completely on that, which to me it's the right way. It's a brilliant way to do mission when for so long Westerners came in and just injected their ideas and their funds into something, but then it wasn't sustaining. It didn't outlast them. And what you guys have built is something that will far outlast you. So I admire that a ton. The way that you go about that, the thought process behind that. And that's why for me, when there's people who come and they say, like, I want to start this thing, or I want to go do missions overseas or whatever, I point them to your story. And now I have a film I can tell them to watch if they can make it to Uganda. But I think it comes out of, so most often, a really good heart of people who want to go change the world. They want to do something with their life that makes a difference and serve people as Jesus called us to do. We just don't generally know how to actually do that well. And you guys have laid out a model of learning and working within the culture. The other gift in the story that I see is you being someone there that grew up there, that knows the culture, which often Westerners will forget to go ask some people who actually live in this environment, like, hey, what do you think? And the joining of you two in this story is what's really beautiful to me, of someone with the heart to say, I'll stay and do whatever I need to do for these kids, but being partnered up with somebody who goes, I know this culture. I know how business works here. I know how we can operate. And you've built something so incredible over 17 years. So thank you for the story and being an example to a bunch of other people and ministries. And I know there's people who fly into Musana to learn about what you do, because they want to help translate that and do what they're doing better. I also want to, it's a story of love in the sense of your love for those kids, but you and Andrea ended up married. And how did you tell us that story? Because that's a really fun part of the story as well.
But before I tell that story, I want to piggyback on what you said, about how people should learn, how do we come into communities and work alongside? I think there are certain things to really understand. One, understanding the community you're going to. Communities are different. You might find their communities. I think there are three levels that we could look at. There is a relief situation, and there is what we call rehabilitation and development. All these situations call for help. Let's talk about if it is in Southern Sudan. There is a war. People are really, running up and down. They're looking for shelter. They're looking for food. There is need for relief support in such a community. It's such a big need. But, in most of the places, like where it's just poverty-stricken, people are crippled, lack of initiative. People can't afford to live in a house or gain an income. They are on the mercy of other people. And this is where Musana is most of the time, where we're doing rehabilitation and development. And the way we approach those scenarios are all very different. So we are going into these communities. Relief has worked for a certain period of time. Now the people are leveraging and taking advantage. We need to change on how we approach those communities, because now they have potential, they have ability. How do we work alongside them? And that's where the model of Musana comes in. Actually, our vision is free of dependency and full of dignity. We want to see that people get out on that relief behavior. We are waiting to be supported. How do we rehabilitate you and develop you to be self-sustaining? So that you no longer rely on aid. And that's the bigger thing. So our approach has been in education, health, and economic empowerment, in a way we establish in a community. That's why you see we build schools, because we feel the education is going to be the most important thing as a backbone for their future.
Because if the poverty issue isn't being worked on, there will always be orphans. Right? Exactly. But the goal is that there's not. Even that families can stay together, they can support themselves, that the community doesn't have to rely on anything else. And those problems, that we see glaring in front of us, they don't just get solved by starting a home and inviting 80 kids in.
Yeah.
Right.
Long term, they get solved when the whole community starts coming together and having the opportunity to be educated, get jobs.
And again, when we gave the community this power, this is when we saw miracles, like amazing things happen. When they had the power to own, to run the schools, to run the hospitals, their dignity, their esteem, their excitement to see they are contributing to something bigger than themselves. This is where the miracle happened of Musana. Sustainability came through. The model then became more clear for us that, okay, our role is to go in the underserved communities and develop them, create an ecosystem, and put in these enterprises, create jobs, educate the children, give access with kids with special needs, teenage mothers, marginalized women getting training. And now the testimonies that are there is amazing.
So cool.
And, then Andrea starts, we start having chemistry,
That was a nice byproduct of the whole thing. How did you go about, like, hey, so we've adopted 80 kids and started something. Do you think we'd probably get married?
Our conversations actually were very interesting. We worked together for more than 4 years before.
As business partners?
Yes.
Yeah.
As partners, as friends, people with the same passion, changing and developing communities. We fought, we argued. There are so many things, Western ideas, Ugandan ideas, but the beauty in all this, we're able to listen to each other. And then we found out that there are so many things we connect within ourselves. By the way, I had a girlfriend there. Andrea had a boyfriend, and,
Well, now they can just hear the story of how they contributed on Amazon Prime.
At the end of the day, we connect more than we connect with any other person.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that it was a very hard time struggling with those feelings and, thinking, is this truly happening? And having a conversation about it. And we had grown up, seeing, what's happening around Musana. And one of the things that we both worried about, if this happened between us, it might destroy Musana, it might cause something different. So actually, in the very early beginnings of our relationships, was promising each other that if anything ever happens, Musana comes first.
Wow.
So it was the wrong way of starting a relationship, because we put Musana ahead of us.
Right.
So right now in our life, it is like Musana, us, and then everything else. Instead of putting God first and then us and Musana down the road in our marriage, and we started off in the wrong way. But this is because was the fear we have created something so beautiful, and we don't want the relationship to be the cause. So actually, it as we have been married for now 11 years, but we have had ups and downs. And one of our down moments has been because we put Musana before our marriage so much that it almost destroyed our marriage. And that was very hard when we came to realization that this was a huge mistake. If we got married, we should have put God first, our marriage second, then Musana should come last in all that. And we had to learn that in a very hard way. But right now I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad that it was challenging, because right now our marriage is so strong, so better. Awesome. We put each other first. How are we doing, first of all, before we think about how Musana is doing.
With a ministry like Musana, I would imagine it's a job that's just never done. Right? There's always something else to do. And so I would imagine it would be really hard. I know nothing about marriage, but I'd imagine it'd be really hard to, when you both have something you are so passionate about and it's also never done, and there's always more that you can do to put that aside and focus on your marriage. And so, well done. That must have been a very challenging road, though.
It's also encouraging, I think, for people in relationships or marriages to hear someone say, like, we didn't actually start this off with the right mindset. We had some things out of order, but we have over the years put things in the right order. That adjustment can happen, even if your marriage doesn't start off perfectly how you maybe should have gone about it. There can be adjustments made along the way. So you guys now are looking at taking your model and expanding into other communities around Uganda. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little about the future of Musana?
Yeah, it is actually a very amazing journey. And I think the strength in terms of taking Musana model in other communities has come as a strength from the community, because the communities have proven that they can own, they can run, these programs, these projects, the schools, the hospitals, the women's training centers, the businesses, and be self-sustaining and support themselves. I mean, they are profitable. They are able to support other kids to go to school for free. I mean, we have a special needs program that is completely free.
Wow.
Not from donations, but from revenues collected, within the community. And when we see God manifesting himself in that kind of a way in a community, we always get, these bigger visions. How many more communities can we go in? And make this happen, that are just waiting, because there are so many. Uganda has more than 150 districts. And we are only in 3 districts. So today we are replicating in 2 more districts.
Cool.
We are starting by building schools that will open next year. And we are still calling for people to come and join us in the journey, financial support, prayers, and so on, so that we can develop this community. So each community we go in, our budget is about $6 million to develop a community, to build a primary school, a high school, a hospital, a women's training center, a restaurant, a hotel, employing 250 full-time employees and reaching over 250,000 people in one community.
Wow.
And it has proven possible. We have already done it in 3 communities,
right?
And it's working successfully. They are all self-sustaining, and we still believe this can be done in other communities.
So for people that here, like fundraising here in America, things like that, if you give, that's going to help to build one of those schools. It's going to help to build one of those hospitals, and that's going to create jobs. But the cool thing about what you guys have done is the ones that are already built. If you don't give a dime towards that, that's still going to go, because that's already running itself. Those people's jobs are coming out of the revenue of that place itself. It's already off.
Generational impact.
Amazing.
We're building up these communities to, for generations, to support their people for a long time. And what a better way to transform communities by investing in them. We are not going in to build these schools. Construction workers and so on, that's the first entry of empowering the people. But again, to have continuous education, holistic education. Christ is alive in the schools. You come to our schools, you talked about rowdy church. It's rowdy at Musana. We make it rowdy. And, in communities that do not have that, the way these kids love Christ is amazing. In the hospitals, the way our social workers, our people pray for the sick patients. You come in and they say, God heals, we do the work, and God is using us. The women's training center. So I believe that we invest in the communities by building this infrastructure. These communities are going to take ownership. They're going to lead their own people, and they're going to support their own people for generations.
Wow.
That's awesome. Real quick you said, you're rowdy, Christ is alive there. Give us just a quick overview of like the pulse of the church in Uganda and the areas you're in, because we're seeing, in Austin and America, like a lot of people showing up to church, people coming back to faith, people coming to faith in Jesus. Like God is moving in a really powerful way right now. What's happening in the church in Uganda from your vantage point, or in your communities? I know you can't speak for an entire country, but...
one of the things I think is very exciting that's happening here in the US, because, pro-COVID, I think, we were seeing the church going down, in the West. And church has been growing in Africa. When you look in the last, in a century, there was probably 9% of Christians, in Africa. Now we have probably 40% of, Christian growth in Africa. So, from 9 million to 700 million of Christianity in Africa. We see that there is revival there, the way people worship, the way people praise, the way people love Christ. Church is alive generally in Africa. And in Uganda, it's very different in terms of how people, worship, how people really pray, and so on. But again, this comes in with, how spiritual they are and how connected they are. So many people lean on God. So we see that people are not scared of talking about Christ there. They're not scared about talking God here. In the US, there are spaces you're going to be scared to talk about God. At Musana, everything starts with a prayer. We have devotions with our staff, and they're coming from different backgrounds, but they know this is the culture around Musana, and people are okay with that. People love to be prayed for. People love to pray for hours, worship for hours. You have been to the Ugandan church,
It's a rowdy church.
It's a rowdy church.
Go for a while.
And, I love going, I told this to Andrea most of the time. We used to go to our local churches in the community, but I've grown this passion of loving going to our high school churches, with these young people, because I get so excited to see the passion they bring in church, in the way they praise, they worship, without any shame, and having the opportunity to speak to them has been really amazing. And I have no doubt these are going to be the next generational transformers. Christ is going to use them, to transform Uganda. I truly believe that. And it's just really amazing to see that.
That's awesome. Wow. All right, last two questions. To somebody who watches Finding Musana, listens to this podcast, hears about what you guys are doing, that is in themselves passionate, dreaming, I want to go do something. I want my life to make a difference. I want to build God's kingdom. What's the advice you would give to that person that maybe has a dream out in front of them, or an idea, or is looking for, God, what are you calling me to do? What would you give after 17 years of all the ups and downs of what you guys have built? What would you say to that person?
One of the things that I have to say is that to that person, there is no cost in dreaming. Dreaming is free. Let's dream as big as we can. Let us not limit ourselves. Let's have the dreams, because it doesn't cost anything to dream. But at the same time, I want to encourage that person that take action. Take action consciously. Take action while caring for yourself. Seek wisdom as you take action. Some people have dreams, but again, they create limitations for themselves. What if this? What if that? What if that? Take a step. Every journey starts with one step.
Good.
Let's take baby steps to make a difference in this world. Every one of us is capable of making a difference in this world. There is no special people. It's not that God only chose Ethan or Ryan or Haril to make a difference. We are all capable. And we need to step into that courage to say, I want to look around my space, my community, outside. Where do I feel more comfortable to take a step and do God's work in His kingdom? I think that brings a sense of purpose. Actually, people will feel that the way your life will be, even your life it will be transformed by that step you've taken, will be so amazing, because you've chosen to take a step. I think we need to get off our butt and stand up and take a step in life to make a difference, not only in other people's lives but also in our lives, because we also have a lot of work to do within our lives.
So good. Cool. for people that just fall in love with what you all are doing, how can people support, partner with, become a part of the Musana family? What are different ways to get involved?
Yeah, it's very easy. First of all, talk to Ethan and Ryan. If you go to Red Rocks,
we will be your hype guys.
Always, any day.
Get plugged in with Musana. We have several ways where people can partner with us. We appreciate prayer groups. If you can just have a group and you can just pray for us, that would be really wonderful. We would love prayers so much. If you can't travel, if you can't do anything, and maybe you can support financially, that will take us so far. Money moves so far in Uganda. The level of life that can be transformed by little is so amazing. So anything small or big that can make a difference in the work that we are doing, but also to be an ambassador. Let's share what God is doing at Musana with other people. Maybe you cannot give financially, maybe you're constrained with something, but maybe when you share with a friend about what God is doing at Musana could help to transform their lives and, other people's lives. So let's share about Musana. Let's become ambassadors for Musana. You can go and look us up online. We have a website, www.musana.org. You can be able to find us. You can be able to find all the contacts of people you want to reach out. Follow us on social media, all platforms, Instagram, Facebook.
We will link all this stuff in the description so people can find it easy.
Follow us online and see what God is doing in Uganda in so many ways.
When people come on a trip with you guys, what's that goal? What's the experience?
Oh, yeah, I'd missed out that. Come visit Uganda. So many people do it different, but I want to say you're going to experience something new. There are so many people who come to Uganda and experiencing the culture there and seeing how people live. That alone has just changed their lives.
Sure.
Coming back here. It humbles them. And there is something that God can speak to you through that journey of traveling to Musana. But we have different programs. We have schools and we have teacher training teams that come. If you're a teacher, you're welcome to come to Musana and work alongside our teachers and learn from our teachers, and they learn from you. That's a great opportunity. We have medical teams. If you're in the field of medical, you can join us and come and work in our hospitals, work alongside our doctors and nurses and medical officers, and work in the community. If you love playing with kids and sharing the gospel, we have vocational Bible study camps where you do alongside our staff. It's the most fun week of the year. A lot of playing, a lot of sharing, a lot of connecting. If you just want to come visit and build relationship, we have a team that will host you, show you around, talk to you, have really conversations that are really transformational. If you're in trades, vocational trades, we have a team that comes. If you're in construction, if you're an electrician, there are so many fields that we can connect with you along those lines. If you're in IT, we encourage people to come and visit any field you're in. If you're a leader, we do leadership training development programs, conferences. We can host you as a leader, speak to our team, share your experience and your leadership journey. It could relate with people, and as you listen to people how they lead back there. So there are so many opportunities that you can come to Uganda. You can bring your family, you can go for safaris. It's very beautiful to go to a safari and see all the big five, animals, and enjoy gorilla tracking and so on. There are so many things to do. It's the Pearl of Africa. Very beautiful place.
It's so beautiful and it's so fun, and those trips have been transformative for us over the years, and learning to listen, learning to just see what God's up to all around the world.
And I love that you guys just have ways to plug people into what you're already doing. It's not like we're going to have this team come and paint the school for the 50th time so they feel like they accomplished something. It's here's a ministry that's booming. Come plug in and bring your gifts, your skills. Come learn here. Come help us with what we're doing. And so all that to say, if you're listening to this, your heart's beating because you want to do something, get on a plane. We'll link everything. Go on a trip. Go get involved with these guys. And you're very humble when it comes to finances, but support the work of Musana. I here I am imposing my Western view on you. I'm like, you guys need to be in all 150 districts in Uganda. And I know that there's a ton of work that goes into expanding into 2 more, and I'm really excited you're doing that. And I hope there's more of that. I know part of that is people helping and support financially. So we're praying financial support. We love you guys. And thank you for sharing your story and inspiring us. It is truly remarkable what you guys have done. And I know all the glory to God, but you've been faithful in a lot of hard situations and through a heck of a journey to keep fighting for people and loving people and bringing them to his kingdom. So thank you for being here. We love you, bro.
Thank you so much. And I want to say the same thing to you. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed my time at Red Rocks. You guys have an amazing, beautiful community, very welcoming. I've felt so loved. Yesterday when we were attending church and coming out, I mean, you have new people, and I saw how those new people are welcomed in this church. It was really, really amazing, and how they, care for each other. Thank you for your leadership, because it comes from leadership to see that really happen. We love you guys, and thank you for your love and partnership with us at Musana. And we'll keep praying for you. I know you're looking for a place, to have a permanent home and all that. We'll be praying for all of that. We're so grateful for the relationship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got one more thing to say. Haril, you need a podcast.
Yeah, we got to get the podcast.
I know you got 1,000 things going on. You're so good at this.
The Haril cast.
That was
we gave you no preparation. And we're like, we'll just talk about Musana. And this has been an amazing conversation. I agree. We'll fly through Ethan over. He'll set up the podcast, and go watch Finding Musana on Amazon Prime. It's an incredible story. It will inspire you, and it'll be way better than whatever Bachelorette type show that you were planning on watching. Finding Musana, Amazon Prime. Thanks, Haril. We love you, bro.
Thank you so much.